My name is Lisa, and this is the Happy Scrappy Life podcast. It's a podcast about knitting, crocheting, mini making, lots of scrappy projects, and a lot of jabbering. If you watched last week, it was my very first episode. This is episode 2. Thanks so much for coming back if you're returning from last week. If you're new, thanks so much for watching me. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram both as Happy Scrappy Life. I also have a group on Ravelry for the podcast. Just go in the groups tab and search for Happy Scrappy Life podcast, and you can join us. I'd love for you to join us. We're having lots of fun over there. We've got some exciting news coming up in this episode. Also, if you are enjoying the podcast, I would love it if you would subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button, and then you'll see a little bell type icon. Click that and tell it yes. Then you can get notifications in your email each time I upload, so you won't miss a single episode. And hit the thumbs up if you like it. Share it with your friends. I'm excited to grow this and get to know all of you and just have fun interacting with everybody. Like I said, my name's Lisa. Live in Ohio. Have one daughter. She lives in Indiana. It's just my husband and I and our puppy dog, Buddy. I'm sure he'll be on the episodes at some point. Right now he's in his cage. He's still a puppy, so he'd be all over everything. But that's me in a nutshell. And let's get into the knitting. The first thing I want to talk about, I'm super excited about, is we are going to have our very first knit along. Since this is a scrappy podcast, and since I'm addicted to minis and I really love sock knitting, I thought it would be fun if we do a KAL knit along with our scraps making socks. So it's going to be called Happy Scrappy Socks KAL. That'll be the hashtag on Instagram and Ravelry. I'm going to put threads in the Ravelry group. We'll have both a chatter thread and a finished object thread. We're going to have prizes, hopefully. Lots of fun prizes. By the way, if you are a maker, dyer, stitch marker maker, bag maker, if you just have some that you want to donate yourself, I'm always looking for donations for prizes. I want to make this super big. One prize for sure for this KAL will be a spot in an upcoming Sock Yarn Swappers Swapless Swap. That'll be our first prize, but if we can get some more, that'd be awesome. So if you're interested in donating, just send me a message on Ravelry or Instagram, and I'll get in touch with you. But back to the KAL itself. It's going to start October 1st. It's going to run all the way until January 31st. So October, November, December, January. We'll have 4 months to work on it. And whips are allowed. Go ahead and get started now if you want. Just scrappy socks. Anything you want. Last week on the podcast, I showed a pair that I had made from Minis with Artistic Yarn by Abby, a swapless swap we'd done. You might know her from the watermelon yarn. She's got lots of amazing yarns. I just kind of put them up. I've got a couple here I want to show you that I'm using mini sets for to make. But you can also make them just totally scrappy. I plan on doing that too, just making up a couple magic knot balls and just going for it. Letting it just go into each other and extremely scrappy. So just have fun with this. I'm excited to see what you do. I'm excited to see the minis or scraps that you use. You can just do vanilla socks. You can do patterns. I know Pixel Rising is a very big popular one. Haven't tried it yet. I'm sure there's others out there. Really, you could use any sock pattern you wanted and just make them scraps all the way up. I really love just plain old vanilla socks when you do scrappy socks. It just really shows off all of your different minis or scraps. But for right now, I've got 2 pairs started. One I had started a long time ago and just never got back to. And then another I started last night, so it's not very far. But those 2 I know I'll be focusing on. I want to show them both to you. But then I'm also probably going to be starting more. That's a long time. We'll see how many we can get done. but let's get started with showing you what I've got. So the first one, I have the whole set in this big bag. Honestly, I don't know where this bag came from. I've had it for years. It's nice because it's got all these pockets around the outside, and then it's nice and big inside. I also have this little bag inside. So the little bag is holding the yarns I'm working on currently, and then the next two that I'm going to add on to the socks. And then the big bag, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but has all of the minis. Let's see how we can do this. There we go. All of the minis in here that I'll be using. So it's nice and handy, everything's together. So these are my first pair that I'm going to be focusing on, and I'm lazy. In my Ravelry page, I just call them Happy Scrappy Socks #1. Those were the Artistic Yarn by Abby ones. These will be Happy Scrappy Socks #2. And then the other ones I'm going to show you are Happy Scrappy Socks #3. I love them. I know I'm going to be knitting lots and lots of them, and it's just easier to do that than come up with a name. So this is the first pair that I am currently working on, that had been working on. As you can see, they're getting pretty long, and the colors are showing up pretty nice. The yarn is from a swapless swap I did in the group, probably, honestly, I think it was kind of towards the beginning, so maybe even 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, dyed in, oh my goodness, I'm gonna look at my notes to make sure. Got myself my planner here. It's a plum paper planner. Sometime maybe we'll talk about that, but I've got myself my notes written out. So let's just cheat. And this one is In the Deep Hue Sea. That is the name of the yarn. And it was 2 swaps. It was a 20 yard and a 40 yard. So altogether I ended up with 30 different colors. And what she did when she did this swap, amazing swap. What she did was, so this sock, this was the #1 mini. Then #2, then #3, then #4, and so on. And then this, what I'm going to do is go from 1 to 15, and then from 16 up to 30. So each mini that she sent me, sorry for the crinkling, she has a little note on it with the number. So I put it in a baggie with a bigger number just to make it easy to grab. So far, well, I can tell you, this is 6. This is the next color. Isn't that gorgeous with all of those speckles? And see, that'll go right here. So it's going to have more pink in it. Then the next one will just keep building up and up and up. And then for this sock, this is the next one I'll be putting on. And this is what it was. So as you can see, it was pretty whites and blacks, and now it's getting into some purples, more purples, and so on. So that's super fun. I mentioned my little hand trick last week, so let's just see how much farther I've got to the heel. So when I slip it on my hand, I know that when it gets down to about like where my wrist, the little crease there where my wrist starts, so I've got this much more to go. I'm guessing I'll probably be 1 more mini. I will be starting the heel. So these are coming along pretty nice. I need to pick them back up and get them working on. I thought this cow would be the perfect excuse to get working on them. As far as color management or minis or whatever, the way I'm going to do it, the way I've been doing it, and the way I'm going to do it on the other sock as well, is I'm knitting 12 rounds in one color. So 12 rounds in one color, and then I'll switch to the next color. 12 rounds, next color. Because I like my socks long, my legs long, and I would really like to use up all of them. So if I've done my math right, and if everything works out the way I'm thinking it will, I will be using all 30 of the minis. Excuse me. I'll be using all 30 of the minis, and I'm going to have a gorgeous pair of, not matching at all, but yet kind of matching because they're all the same type, Scrappy socks. So this is my first pair that I'll be using or knitting on for the Happy Scrappy Socks KAL. And then the second pair, super excited about, started these last night, are in my Lone Larch bag. Isn't that awesome? She had talked about these on her podcast once. Great podcast, by the way. And I loved it. And so I messaged her, asked her if she could make me one. I wanted the bear on it, and I wanted the hello and the owl. And she did, no problem, whipped it right up for me. Super cute yarn inside. Her bags are fantastic. Very, very well made. So this is Happy Scrappy Socks number 3. And these I'm making from 3 sets of minis that I purchased. They weren't swapless swaps. They were just, I had purchased them from the Yarn at Home mom. And they are all Gilmore Girls themed colorways. Pretty cool, right? If you check my Ravelry page, I'll put a link in the show notes. If you check my Ravelry page, you'll see a picture there with the listing of all of the colorway names. I don't remember them all. I definitely don't know which is which, but they're fun names with Lorelai and Luke and Rory and Jess, and fun. Side note, I love Gilmore Girls. Kind of disappointed with the thing that came back later, A Year in the Life thing. Didn't really love the way they ended it, and I kind of was hoping it was going to come back again, but it hasn't. So, but the actual original Gilmore Girls, absolutely love it. So anyway, let me show you these socks. Like I said, I haven't done very much yet. Just basically have toes on them. But here they are. So this is the first sock. And as you can see, I've got the toe, and then, which we'll talk about in a second. And then I'm just started my second color. And then same with this one over here. Got the toe and just a teeny little bit peeking out of the second color. So I'm super excited about them. They're fun. These are the little balls. These all came in the mini skeins, just like my swapless swaps do. And I wound them all into these adorable teeny little balls. So these two are the colors I'm currently working on. And of course, because there's so many little balls of yarn everywhere, that means lots of little strings to get tangled. So what I did was, I kind of, sorry again for the crinkling, I was going to say twinkling, but crinkling. But what I did was separate it out, and I made 2 baggies for sock number 1 and sock number 2. I want them to be scrappy. I'm not worried about matching at all. I just grabbed, I've got 30 of these as well, so 15 and 15. I just grabbed out 15 of each color, or each 15 from the whole set. Didn't really worry about colors at all. Put them into the baggies. So this is sock number 1. These are all of the minis that I'm going to be putting in sock number 1. And then these are all of the ones I'll be putting in sock number 2. I think that's going to help keep it a little less messy in my bag. And then I started a bag that says finished. These are the ones that I'll put in here. These are the 2 I already put on. Isn't the yarn gorgeous? I'm sorry. These 2 are the 2 I just put on. I'm going to keep adding these as I finish them. When I get the socks all the way finished, if I know I've got enough yarn, I don't need to redo any colors, then I'm going to make all of these into a magic knot ball and put them either on my one of my mitered squares, or probably in my granny stripe, but then I can use up every little bit of it. So that's exciting. Oh, I forgot to mention, I don't think I mentioned at least, this yarn is on her, these minis are all on her shimmer base. So it's got sparkle in it. I don't know. I'm going to be able to see that or not. Oh, kind of. At least I can kind of here on the camera. I don't know if you'll be able to or not. They're all sparkly, which I love because Lorelai is pretty sparkly. And I relate to Lorelai a lot. So this is my second pair. Happy Scrappy Socks number 3, but the second pair I'll be working on for the cow. So I would love for you all to join in with us. And I wanted to talk just a teeny bit about how I do my toes. A lot of toes anymore, well, from when I started doing socks at least, were very wedged. They were a wedge toe is what they were called, and they were very pointed, very blunt. I just didn't like the way they fit on my feet. I didn't like this is silly, but I didn't like the way they looked when I looked at them as I was knitting them. I didn't like the way they fit on my toes. And I honestly don't know where I found this or heard of this. I didn't come up with it myself. It wasn't my invention, but I believe it's a rounded toe is what it's called, but it's how I make all of my socks now. And you can see here, well, let me show you in this one because it shows a lot better once the leg comes up on it more. But you can see that, goodness, what a mess, that the toe is very rounded. Looks more like a real foot and a real toe. I'm not sure why that's so bendy, but see how it's so rounded? So the way I do that, I always knit my socks on US 1.5s, which is a 2.5 millimeter needle. I prefer these Chiago, I think that's how you say it, red lace needles. They're my favorite. I like the points. The tips are super pointy, and I like that a lot. I love the cord. The cord has like a metal thing in the middle of it, and then it's got this rubbery, plasticky coating on the outside, and I love the cord. So that's what I prefer. These others I think are knit picks. I'm not sure what they are, but I'm slowly working on getting all Chiago. I have so many sock whips that I tend to fill up my needles a lot. So, and then they sit in the cupboard. I've even been known, because all my sock needles were full and I was dying to start a pair of socks, to put the socks that I haven't been knitting on very much on like a 0 and then hold them on the 0, and then I can use those needles, do the others. Crazy. That's just craziness. I need to finish stuff up. Maybe in the new year, that'll be a knit along we'll do to get some stuff finished. But for now, we're going to work on scrappy socks. So anyway, back to my toes, how I do my toes. So I like to do a Turkish cast on. That's my favorite cast on. Knitting Blooms, I think is her name on Ravelry. She used to have a podcast I absolutely loved. I wish she'd come back. But she has a tutorial about Turkish cast on that I think is just fantastic. If I remember, I'll add it into the show notes. But it's an easy toe up cast on, and I use 16 wraps. If you know what a Turkish cast on is, you know what that means, but you wrap your yarn around to get started. I use 16 wraps for my toes, and then you knit around to get started, and then for every single round until I get to 24 stitches on one needle, I increase every round. And I knit one, do a knit front back, knit to the end, one stitch before the end, knit front back, knit one, same on the back. I do that every single round until I get to 24 stitches on my needle. At that point, I knit straight for one round, and then I increase for the next round. Then I knit straight, and then I increase. And I do that until I get to 32 stitches on each needle, so 64 total. And that's what gives me this nice rounded type toe instead of the real sharp wedge toe. it's how I like to do it. I like how they fit, and I like how they look. So thought that might be interesting for somebody. So that's it for right now for my Scrappy socks. I would love for you to join in. The hashtag again will be hashtag Happy Scrappy Socks KAL on Instagram and Ravelry. Use it lots. I want to see what you're working on. It makes it easy to pull them up. And then in the Ravelry group, Happy Scrappy Life podcast, I will be starting, well, by the time you see this, it'll already be up. We'll have an FO thread where you can put all of your FOs. And then we will have a chatter thread. Now the FO thread will be no chatter. If there's any chatter, I'll have to delete those posts. That's where I'll be pulling prizes from. And each time you knit a pair of socks, make another post. And at the end, January 31st, which happens to be a Wednesday, which is great because I hope to record on Thursdays. So on Wednesday night, I'll pull all of those prizes and then get to announce them on the podcast. So that'll be fun. In order to win, you have to be a member of the group. And basically that's the only rule. They have to be scrappy socks, so no one style or self-striping or anything like that. They've got to be scrappy. They can be sort of planned like some of mine, or they can be totally crazy monster type socks if you want, whatever you'd like. Whips are completely fine. I think I've said that a couple times. Double dipping is fine if you want to put your socks in with someone else's. KAL, that's totally fine too. And I'm excited about it. I think it'll be lots of fun. And again, if you want to donate prizes, just get in touch with me. So, next up, I thought I would talk about FOs. Now, I warned you last week that I'm not much of a finisher, especially because so many of my projects are so big, and that is totally true. So I'm going to cheat. Technically, I have no FOs, but I am going to show you a square that I put on my daughter Ashley's sock yarn blanket. So I got one square put on. So, I mean, I guess that's something. So, this is her blanket. Let me find the square. It's kind of just like a long snake right now. Here it is. I'm going to use these interlocking stitch marker or locking stitch marker things to mark each time all the new ones I finish. Hopefully, maybe we can actually get some stuff done since I'm doing this podcast now. I'm trying to feel motivated to have something to show you finished, but I promise there'll be lots of works in progress every week. But anyway, this is the square that I finished. They look so wonky before you get all your ends on, but isn't that yarn beautiful? So this is yarn from Tangled Strings, and the colorway is Bluegrass and Bourbon. This was one of the skeins she sent me as a preview, and I decided to keep. Can't wait to make socks out of it. It kind of looks like it's sort of striping, which is pretty cool, but not completely striping. She is one of our October swapless swaps. So, and there's lots of spots open still. So if you like the yarn, head on over there and sign up. You could use her yarn for some of your scrappy socks if you wanted. So that is my only finished object, a square on a blanket. Completely ridiculous. Hopefully I'll do more. We were busy this week, which we'll get to in life stuff, but hopefully I'll get to finishing some things. I did notice that I was super excited to work on those Gilmore Girls socks because I knew I'd be talking to you guys today, and I wanted to have something to show you. So it motivated me. So maybe I'll actually start finishing some stuff. We'll see. I did start a second square, which you won't really be able to see very much because it's on the needles. But this one, hopefully I'll have finished next week to show you, is the Wild Happy Color yarn. Pretty, right? It has cashmere in it. It's crazy how soft it is. But that she sent me as a preview yarn also. And just sticking my needle in here. I like to kind of thread it through, because these signatures are crazy slippery. When I do that, and then I can stick it into my double pointed DPN holder, keeps them from slipping out. Now they have poked some holes in the stitching. I need to find some better ones, sturdier, maybe even like leather or like folded over or something. If anyone has any suggestions for some good sturdy DPN holders, and I bought the longer, I think they might be 8-inch DPNs from Signature, so I need some pretty particular DPN holders. But if anyone has a suggestion for an Etsy shop, let me know. But this one hopefully will be finished next week. And this is that yarn that I'm working on right now. And she's got a swap going on too, so you can check her out as well if you'd like. So that's it for finished objects. Crazy. But I do have something I've been giving a lot of attention to. It is my works in progress. We're moving into works in progress now. This is what I've been knitting on a lot. I've been enjoying it a lot. First of all, it is in my Fat Squirrel Fibers project bag, which is her library bag, library card bag. Love this bag. Honestly, part of me wishes that I could just have, I don't know, 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 sweater bags like this same fabric. I love this fabric. I love the library. I like to read. I haven't read nearly as much since I've gotten addicted to knitting, but I love the bag and I want to get back to reading. So anyway, this is Fat Squirrel Fibers. She has a great podcast, Fat Squirrel Speaks. Amy Beth is her name. Love her. She's one of my favorites. I believe she's now doing updates, maybe monthly, I'm not sure, that she calls her favorites updates, and each time she includes these library bags, and then she also includes these granny square bags, which is what some of my scrappy projects are in. Ashley's blankets in here. So those bags are great. I highly recommend her. But the work in progress is my So Faded sweater. I'm calling it So Ready for Fall sweater because I am so ready for fall. It's been 90 degrees here in Ohio. It's crazy. It's the end of September and it's been 90 degrees. Today it's much cooler. I think it's only supposed to be a high of maybe 72. I'm hoping it'll stay that way. I'm just ready for fall. But my sweater, I know everybody in the world has been knitting these, but I'm kind of new to the whole fade thing. But this is my sweater. Pretty, huh? And since I podcasted last week, even though you didn't see it, I was here, so I've done all of this since last week. It's pretty good since I worked on the other stuff too. I need to get some really pretty, fun progress keepers to keep track of this so I can keep showing you each time where I've been and how much I've gotten done. Again, if you've got suggestions for Etsy shops, let me know. I love Sucre miniatures. See those on all the podcasts, but I haven't ever gotten any. But this is my So Faded sweater. Lots to talk about with this sweater. First up, it's the So Faded sweater pattern by Andrea Mowery. You've probably seen these on lots of podcasts. Fading is the big thing now. The fading part's so cool. That's right here. And you do a round of your old color, round of your new color, round of your old color, round of your new color for 10 rounds. Then you go to your next one. So it kind of fades the color in a little bit. My yarn, I know you're dying to know about that, is from Yoshi and Lucy Yarns on Etsy. I'll put a link to her shop. And it's on the Isabel, I think that's how you say, I'm pretty sure that's how you say, for the colorway, or I'm sorry, the base, Isabel base. The colorways, this top, kind of all those beautiful speckles and the kind of creamy color, that's called Canyon. Then the next one with more oranges and browns and lots of black speckles still. That one is called Phoenix. And then, of course, I've got 3 more. I'm doing 5 altogether. And I love it. I'm following the pattern pretty much. I'm doing, I don't remember what size I'm doing. I think I'm doing the next to the largest, but then I think she's added sizes, so it's not really now the next to largest. Maybe 52 bust. Not a teeny girl, so I need a nice roomy sweater. Plus I want it nice and comfy to wear over my leggings. I did go up a needle size, so I am using a US 6, which is a 4mm needle. Chiago red lace again. I've separated for the sleeves, which is super cool. I just did that. Actually, I only have like 1 or 2 rounds underneath here, but I've got them on some interchangeable needles, so they'll be easy to take off. And now I'm basically just zoom down the body. I'm a little concerned because when I hold it up to myself, I mean, obviously it's all bunched up on here, but it seems like it's going to be sort of big, which I want big and roomy. I don't want huge. I've never finished. I finished 1 sweater. It was a cardigan, the Mama Vertebrae. Unfortunately, I'm not thrilled with it. I don't think it fits me very well, and I don't wear it hardly ever. But this is fingering weight, so it should be cooler for me, and I'm hoping it fits well. I'm on a sweater learning journey here, so hopefully I can do it. One bad thing that I figured out when I put my sleeves onto the holders to hold them when I separated, I did that part wrong. My sleeves are about 10 or 15 stitches bigger than they're supposed to be. In the pattern, it tells you about how to increase, and then you have different steps as you go. It's a paid pattern, so I don't want to give anything away, but it has different steps as you increase, and I misread it. And so I increased in my sleeves more than I was supposed to. My body turned out fine. I did that part right, but the sleeves, I increased more. So my options were rip back, which I'm never comfortable with, rip it all out, which sure wasn't going to happen, or just go with it and see what happens. So I'm hoping that's what happens. I'm hoping between my bust and my upper arms, which are, they are what they are. I'm hoping that this extra fabric here doesn't make much difference and is okay. So I'm already thinking how sad I'm going to be if I finish this sweater and it's just gigantic or too tight or fits funny because I messed that up. That's just going to be a waste. But what I'm hoping is I'm going to knit, what I'm planning is I'm going to knit a little bit more on the body, get it down just a little further, and then I'm going to slip it on and see how it looks and either be happy or be sad. Hopefully happy. So that is my So Faded sweater, so ready for fall sweater, which is so fun. And this is the yarn close up that I'm working with right now. And like I said, it is Phoenix, Yoshi and Lucy yarn in their Phoenix colorway. So that is my sweater. The next section is Yarny Goodness, and this time I haven't gotten a single thing. I've been good. I'm trying not to buy anything. Haven't gotten anything preview type yarns for any swaps, so it's kind of sad. I like to get stuff in the mail, but I'm trying not to spend money as much as possible. I just have so much yarn. I need to show you my stash sometime. But so maybe next week, we'll see. I haven't ordered anything, so probably not, but we'll see. So at this point, I'm going to move into some sock yarn swappers discussions. I want to tell you a little bit about what's going on with that. If you're not interested, after that, I'm going to go into just some life stuff with me. So a bunch of chattery stuff after the shop stuff. If you aren't interested in any of that, feel free to go now. I'm glad you joined me. Make sure you subscribe. Come back again. I hope you have a fantastic week. And if you're interested, then let's just move on into it. So Sock Yarn Swappers is the group that I have on Ravelry. I sell swapless swaps, which are mini skeins. I'm currently working on swaps that were paid for by September 15th and are due to ship October 15th. You might have seen on Instagram, I did an Insta story. Well, I think I did a live. I don't know what it's called. It was my first time ever doing it. But showing some of the vivid yarn that I was needing to cake up. I have a lot of it. I have 110 skeins, I think, total that needs caked up. I've caked some, but luckily I have an electric ball winder, so that helps a lot. But it still takes a lot of time. So I've been working on that. I've been making some minis. One of the swaps that were for September that I'm working on right now was called Clear the Containers. And I'm sure I'll be doing this again probably after the first of the year, so all of you guys can participate. But I have so much left over when I make my minis for the swapless swaps, and then I make all the minis for everyone, and then I keep what I want to keep. There's still leftovers, or there's more than I could ever use. So they've been accumulating, and the way they look is, after I've made them, is just, they're just balls. Or sometimes they'll be this kind of a ball, magic knot type ball, but no magic knot in it. Or sometimes they'll be bundled like this. Depends on how I made the minis. I have a nitty knotty, little tiny nitty knotty, which I got from Paradise Fibers that I love. This is what I use when I make them by hand, which is what I'm having to do right now for all of these. Then I also have a big electronic skein winder machine. It's actually right behind you that I use. My husband helps me with a lot. And we use it when we're doing from a whole big cake of yarn. And it can do 6 at a time, so it's a lot faster and obviously easier on my arm. But, so I've been making all of these Clear the Container minis. In the swap, I posted for both 20 yards and 40 yards. So people had the option. Some people only bought 20 or 40. Some bought a combination of both. So I've been making both. So right now I think I need to make, if my memory is right, I think I need to make like 900 20-yard minis and like 400 40-yard minis or something. I mean, it's a lot. And I'm doing them all by hand, like I said. My poor husband keeps worrying about me, keeps telling me my arm is going to fall off, but it's not. Don't worry, we still got lots and lots of minis in these arms. But I have this little sleeve thing that I wear, copper sleeve, and I wear it right here. It helps. Sometimes I get a little pain up here in my shoulder or on my elbow, and I just stop a while and make them on the machine, or I do something else for a while and then give it a rest and come back. This sleeve helps tremendously. But so far, I have one whole container. Hopefully I can show this. This is a blue storage container. These are all 20-yard minis. Look at all of that gorgeousness. Awesome, right? So fun. You can even see through the container to see them. So if you happen to sign up for some of the Clear the Container minis, you might be getting some of these. These might be yours. So I have this whole container. These are 20 yards. I'll hold a couple up just to kind of show you what they look like. Just so cute. And then I also have a whole box, whoops, they're falling out. A whole container of 40-yard minis as well. So this one's heavier. And I'll show you just a couple of those up close. I'll get a different color. So I'm making progress. These two containers are completely full. I've got other containers over there that are starting. They're not even close to full, but I need to keep working on it. This container I have over here in the corner of my craft room. I have our dining room, but we don't use it as a dining room. We use it as a craft room. Work room, I guess. I have tons of all of the extra minis. in baggies and containers. So periodically what I'm doing is taking a container, this container, and I'm adding lots and lots of these bundle-y things that need made into the minis. And then I can take this with me out on the couch or out on the deck. My husband's been doing lots of yard work, so I've been sitting out there with him and jabbering with him and working on minis. And then I take my nitty knotty, my sleeve, and my scissors. Wrap it around, tie it up, twist them up, put them in the container. So I'm getting close to this weekend. My parents are coming to visit. We'll get to that a little bit in a little bit. But she loves to help with this stuff, but she doesn't live local, so she doesn't have the opportunity all the time. So when she comes to visit, she likes to help and play with the yarn too. So my plan is to get as many made as I can and get the baggies all printed up and ready to go. And then I'm going to get her to help me. And we'll separate out for each group, each bundle. Some people ordered up to 8 bundles, which blows my mind. And of course they'll want them all different. So we've got to make sure everything's, no duplicates. So I'm going to get her to help me with that. So maybe they'll all be done. Everything won't ship until November 15th. I like to get everything finished because a lot of people order multiple swaps. And it's easier for me to just do one huge shipment on the 15th of the following month. Excuse me. And on the 15th of the following month instead of just as I finish them. So I'm hoping she can give me a good jump on it. And then next week, Tom and I will be starting on getting all of these other minis made into, all these other yarns made into minis. So in the Sock Yarn Swappers group, I have a Ravelry group for that as well, Sock Yarn Swappers. There are lots and lots of swaps open. For October, which money would be due by October 15th, that's when signups close. Then minis will be shipped by November 15th. There are still spots open in, grab my notebook here, in Tangled Strings and Critium Handmade. There's also a Christmas Advent swap. It's completely full, but you can add your name as an alternate if you want. Then if someone backs out, I'll go down the alternates list. But Tangled Skeins and Critium Handmade both have spots available. I showed you those yarns last week. You saw the one square in the blanket. They're beautiful. Then for November, I have those up and posted already. And for those, signups close and payments are due November 15th. Yarn will ship by December 15th. And I've got some new swaps in there. One of which is the Yarn at Home Mom. So that's kind of exciting. Those are the socks, the Gilmore Girls socks I'm doing. There might be Gilmore Girl colorways in it. There might not. That's all up to the dyer. And they won't be on shimmer base. They'll be on her regular base. But that'd be a great thing for you to, any of these swaps, but to try out some yarns, put them in your blankets or your scrappy projects, and especially your happy scrappy socks. So if you're interested, head on over. I've got a thread in our group just to kind of update people every so often. And then the major Sock Yarn Swappers group has all of the swaps. Just comment that you're interested, I'll get you added, and then we go from there. So that's it for Sock Yarn Swappers. The last thing is just some life stuff. So this past week, our daughter, Ashley, she lives in Indiana. I mentioned that last week. Went away to college there and stayed there. She met a friend there who ended up being her roommate in college and became her very, very best friend. I'm so glad they found each other. And she's now her roommate. They've, of course, both graduated, have full-time jobs, and they're renting a house and they live together. So it's just so nice to see her. They just both support each other and work and don't get distracted by boys. I was boy crazy, married at 19 years old, and she is so focused on work and herself, and I'm just so proud of her. She's doing wonderful. She's very independent. And she has a dog named Izzy, big black lab. You might have seen some pictures I posted on Instagram with them. But they came to visit this past weekend. We had a ball, absolute ball. They weren't here long. They got here late on Friday night and had to leave on Sunday morning, which makes me sad. But we'll be going to see her over Thanksgiving for almost a week, so that's going to be fantastic. But we had a lot of fun, ate a lot of yummy food, pizza, and the local dairy aisle. It's a small ice cream place. She loves it, and her friend loves it, and we go there every time they come. So they actually got ice cream twice from there. So it's delicious. It'll be closing soon. But and we played games. We played a board game called Newark, Ohio. My husband, that's where we live, and my husband had gotten this game when he was very young. I don't remember how young, but very young. And it's sort of like Monopoly, but it has all the local businesses. Well, a lot of them are closed now, which is sad. But a lot of the local businesses are the spots you land on. You have to buy a certain amount of things. It was just a lot of fun. And Ashley won. She's very competitive. We always want to try to beat her, but she's good, and she won. So it was a wonderful weekend. We had a great time. Wore us out. Tom and I both were tired. We were up crazy late. We typically go to bed pretty early. He does especially, and I go to bed usually by 11. But we were up till 1:30 both nights, and that wore us out. But who got wore out the most was Buddy. He was exhausted. He wanted to play with Izzy the whole time. He was excited about the girls, wanted to play with them. Izzy is not interested in playing at all. She would growl at him, tolerate him some, and then do that low little growl to get him to leave her be. But he would just keep trying and trying to play. But he was wore out. Just now today, it's Thursday. They left on Sunday morning. He's just now seeming like himself. He's not sleeping all day, and he's wanting to play more and run around and stuff. Funny thing is, tomorrow, my parents are coming to visit, and they have a dog as well named Chloe. She's a tiny little Pomeranian. She might be a mix. I don't remember. I'll have to ask my parents, but she's just a tiny little dog like Buddy is. But she does not like to play. When we went to visit them this summer, she would just growl and growl at him and bark at him and rah, 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 rah. I'll probably record some videos. It's kind of funny. And he just keeps playing and playing. Now, neither of these dogs would ever hurt him. They just want him to leave them alone. They don't want to play. But he doesn't get it. I think he thinks they're playing when they're doing that. So it's kind of funny. But he's going to be so wore out again. I'm thrilled to see my parents. It's going to be a short visit for them as well. They are actually full-time RVers. So they live in their camper, in their RV, all year long. They don't have a house or an apartment or a condo or anything. And they travel all around the country and stay at different campgrounds and do work at that campground and then move on to the next one. And it's an exciting life, and they get to go all over. This summer we went to visit them in, wow, that's terrible. I don't even remember what state. South. Last year we went and saw them in Mississippi, but it wasn't Mississippi this year. That's terrible. I have no idea. But it was in the South summer. It was hot. And then this year, right now, they're coming to visit us. But they were in Wisconsin and they just got to Indiana. So they're going to be in a couple different campgrounds in Indiana. So they're pretty close, only 3 or 4 hours from us. So they're going to make the trip this weekend to visit us. That'll be wonderful. I'm going to put my mom to work. Daddy's birthday was on Tuesday, so I got a cake. Good excuse to get a birthday cake. Got presents, and so we'll be celebrating his birthday while he's here. I'm sure we'll be eating lots of good food, lots of jabbering. So come next Monday, Buddy and Tom and I are all going to be exhausted again, especially Buddy. But it's going to be an awesome weekend. I like having people here, and it's been nice. And that's pretty much it. Other than that, Tom's been working in the yard some. We've been working on getting the house ready for the company. I've been making minis and knitting, learning all about this podcasting stuff, getting to know some of you. So it's good. It's been a good week. And I will be back next Thursday to visit with you again. For now, I'd really like to keep it a weekly podcast. If it gets to be too much, we'll stretch it out to 2 weeks. But I was excited this morning when I woke up to talk with you guys. And I feel like my friend is sitting across from me and we're just jabbering about knitting. I just wish I could hear more out of you. You could talk back to me, but that's what the groups are for. So come on over, join the group, subscribe to the podcast. And I hope you have a fantastic, wonderful week. And I look forward to seeing you next week. And I think it's Sunday is October 1st. Don't forget, happy Scrappy Socks, KAL. Get those socks cast on. You can cast them on now if you want and start posting on Ravelry. I'm excited to see them. And thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Bye!